Emma Roberts was one of those girls everyone knew at Brookside High. She had a bright smile, soft brown hair that always seemed perfect, and a laugh that made people feel comfortable. She wasn't the kind of popular who made others feel small. She was kind, smart, and friendly. Teachers liked her, students followed her lead, and even younger kids looked up to her. Emma was in her final year, just a few months from graduation. Life felt normal, even easy. Brookside was an average town, quiet streets, small shops, and one high school, where everyone pretty much knew everyone. At school, the days moved in a rhythm of bells, chatter in hallways, and the clatter of lunch trays. There were sports games on Fridays, spirit weeks, and locker decorations for birthdays. Nothing big ever seemed to happen, and that's how most people liked it. One person who always blended into the background was Mr. Parker, the school janitor. He was older, maybe in his 60s, with short gray hair and deep lines on his face. Every day he wore the same faded navy uniform, sleeves always rolled up. He never spoke much. He would quietly mop the floors, fix broken lockers, or empty the trash cans. He didn't make eye contact, and never smiled. He just did his job and moved on. To most students, he was invisible. But to a few, especially the meaner ones, he was a target. They called him names when his back was turned: creepy janitor, old weirdo, even zombie Parker. Some would joke and throw paper on the floor, just to watch him clean it. They laughed when he didn't react, saying he was too slow to care. Emma wasn't part of the teasing. She never joined in. But she also never stopped it. Sometimes she'd look away when it happened, unsure of what to say or do. She figured Mr. Parker didn't care, or maybe he was just used to it. Either way, she never thought too much about him. To her, he was just the janitor. Quiet, strange, always. It was a Wednesday afternoon when things went too far. The lunchroom was buzzing, full of students talking, laughing, and moving from table to table. Emma sat with her friends, picking at her sandwich while they chatted about prom dresses and summer plans. Across the room, Jake Miller, one of the loudest boys in school, was joking around with his usual group. He was always looking for attention, the kind of guy who acted tough, but never in a real way. Mr. Parker came into the cafeteria, pushing a cart with a mop and bucket. As usual, he kept his eyes low, and his pace steady. He moved to a corner where someone had spilled a tray of food earlier. Without saying a word, he started cleaning it up. Jake saw him, and smirked. "Hey, watch this," he whispered to his friend. Then, in one quick motion, he crumpled his empty chip bag and tossed it right onto the floor near Mr. Parker's feet. The bag made a soft crackling noise as it landed. "Oops," Jake said loudly, fake gasping. "Looks like someone made a mess. Better clean that up, Mr." His friends laughed, not even trying to hide it. A few students turned to watch. Emma looked over too, her stomach twisting just a little. Mr. Parker didn't look at Jake. He didn't say a word. He just bent down, picked up the bag, and placed it in the trash. "What's the matter? Too shy to talk?" Jake called after him, louder now. More laughter followed. The janitor straightened up and calmly pushed his cart toward the next mess. Emma didn't laugh. She watched Mr. Parker's face as he turned away. There was no anger, no sadness, just stillness, like he had learned long ago how to shut the world out when it turned cruel. For a second, Emma thought she saw his hand tighten slightly on the mop handle, but then he moved on. As Mr. Parker reached the doors, Emma noticed something else. He pulled a worn wallet from his pocket and peeked inside it for a brief moment. His eyes lingered there, just for a second, before he slipped it back in and pushed through the doors. Something about that tiny moment stayed with her. After the lunchroom incident, Emma found herself thinking about Mr. Parker more than she expected. She noticed how he walked. His back was always straight, never slouched, like most people his age. He moved slowly, but with purpose, like every step mattered. It was strange. For someone who spent all day picking up after careless teenagers, he still carried himself with pride. One morning before class, a younger student tripped and fell in the hallway. Papers flew everywhere, and kids laughed as they stepped around the mess. Before Emma could get up to help, Mr. Parker was already there. He knelt down quickly, faster than anyone expected, and gently helped the boy up. His movements were quick and steady, not stiff like someone old. He picked up every paper, even the crumpled ones that had slid under lockers. "Thank you," the boy said, eyes wide. Miss Parker just gave a small nod and walked away without saying anything. Later that day, Emma was in her English class when her teacher, Mrs. Blake, asked someone to shut a broken window that kept sliding open. One student tried and failed. Another gave up. But when Miss Parker came by for his regular sweep, he glanced at the window once, pulled out a small tool from his belt, and fixed it in under a minute. As he left, Mrs. Blake muttered, more to herself than to anyone else, "That man's seen more than we ever will." Emma heard it. The words stuck. That night, at home, she asked her mom, "Do you know anything about Mr. Parker, the janitor at school?" Her mom looked up from the sink. Just that he's been there a while. Quiet man. Keeps to himself." "Why?" Emma shrugged. "Just wondering. Some kids mess with him a lot." "It's not right." Her mom nodded, drying her hands. "Some people fight their battles in silence, sweetheart. Doesn't mean they haven't been through a war." The word war hit something in Emma's mind. She didn't know why, but it felt important. After that, she couldn't stop noticing Mr. Parker. The way he moved. The way he stood still sometimes, lost in thought. The way he always seemed to be watching, listening, even when no one else saw him. Emma was beginning to feel that there was more to the quiet janitor than anyone realized. The weather turned warmer as spring rolled in, and the school buzzed with talk of graduation, senior trips, and summer plans. But Emma's mind kept drifting back to Mr. Parker. There was something about him, something that didn't quite match the picture everyone else saw. One early morning, Emma arrived at school before most students. She had volunteered to help decorate the gym for senior awards night. As she walked past the flagpole near the front of the school, she stopped. There, standing completely still, was Mr. Parker. He didn't notice her watching from a distance. He stood facing the small war memorial by the school entrance, an old stone slab with the names of former students who had served in the military. In his hand was a single red rose. He placed it gently at the base of the memorial, then took a step back. What happened next gave Emma goosebumps. Mr. Parker raised his hand to his brow and saluted, not just a casual salute. It was sharp and practiced, like something from a movie or a ceremony. He held it there for a long moment, then slowly lowered his hand and bowed his head. Emma felt like she had walked in on something private, something sacred. She stayed quiet, watching from behind a tree, unsure why she suddenly felt like crying. Later that day, during lunch, she kept thinking about the rose, the salute, the way his face looked calm, but full of feeling, not empty like when he was mocked in the cafeteria. That morning his eyes had been focused, filled with memory. The more she noticed, the more the teasing bothered her. Jake and his group were still at it, throwing paper balls, making jokes. Emma didn't laugh anymore. She didn't look away either. Something inside her had changed. She watched Mr. Parker clean the hallway that afternoon, the mop moving back and forth in slow, even strokes. No one thanked him. No one noticed. But Emma did. She didn't know his full story yet, but she could feel it, hidden just beneath the surface, like a secret waiting to be told. The gym was packed with students, families, and teachers. The air buzzed with excitement and nerves as the class of seniors waited for their names to be called. Balloons lined the stage, cameras flashed, and proud parents filled every seat. Emma sat near the front in her cap and gown, hands clasped in her lap. Her heart beat fast, not just from nerves, but from something else she couldn't explain. As the principal stepped up to the microphone, the room quieted. "Good afternoon, everyone," he began with a warm smile. "Before we begin our ceremony, we'd like to take a moment to recognize someone very special to our school community." Emma sat up straighter. The principal continued, "Most of you know him as the quiet janitor who keeps our halls clean and our school run. But today, you'll learn who he really is." Whispers spread across the gym. "Please welcome to the stage, Major Daniel Parker." Emma's mouth fell open. Students looked around in shock. Jake, who was sitting a few rows back, blinked in confusion. Everyone turned toward the side of the stage. Mr. Parker stepped out, but not as they knew him. Gone was the faded janitor's uniform. He wore a crisp dark blue military dress coat, polished metals shining across his chest. His shoes gleamed, and his back was even straighter than usual. The room fell silent as he walked slowly, proudly, to the microphone. Every step echoed. Emma felt a lump in her throat. The principal spoke again, voice steady. Major Parker is a retired U.S. Marine. He served our country for over 20 years, completing missions overseas that saved countless lives. He earned the Silver Star, the Bronze Star, and a Purple Heart. He retired with honor and chose to work here, not because he had to, but because he wanted to help guide the next generation. Gasps filled the air. A few parents stood to clap. Some teachers wiped their eyes. Mr. Parker raised a hand to quiet the applause. His voice when he spoke was calm and deep. "I didn't come here today to talk about medals," he said. "I came to remind you that every person you meet has a story. Some carry it in silence." He paused, letting the words sink in. "For years I've cleaned your floors, fixed your lockers, and listened to your laughter. Some of you showed kindness. Others, well," he smiled gently, "you didn't, and that's okay. I didn't take this job to be thanked. I took it to keep watch, to help where I could." The room remained still. Even Jake wasn't moving now. Mr. Parker looked out at the sea of young faces. Strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it walks quietly through the hallways, carrying memories you'll never know. I lost friends in war who never made it home. Some of them sat in classrooms like yours once. I served them by serving you. Emma felt tears sting her eyes. Miss Parker gave one final salute, and stepped away from the microphone. For a moment, no one moved. Then the room erupted in applause. It wasn't loud or wild. It was strong, respectful, real. And this time when Mr. Parker turned to walk off the stage, every student, including Emma, stood to honor him. The man they once ignored had just shown them what a true hero looked like, and nothing would be the same again. The gym was quiet again after the applause faded. Students sat down, but their eyes stayed fixed on Mr. Parker as he stepped back up to the microphone. He didn't rush. He took a slow breath, then spoke, his voice steady but full of feeling. "When I was your age, I thought being strong meant being loud, being first, winning." He paused. "But real strength, real courage, it looks different. Sometimes it's standing up for someone who can't stand up for themselves. Sometimes it's staying silent when you're being laughed at, because you know who you are, and they don't." Emma listened closely, her heart full. She could feel the weight of every word. "I served with a man once," Miss Parker continued. "He was quiet too. People made fun of him when we were new soldiers, called him slow, strange, weak. But when it counted, when everything went wrong out in the field, he was the one who saved us. He carried 3 injured men on his back, under fire, risked his own life without thinking twice." He looked out at the students. No one made fun of him after that. There was a long pause. The silence was thick, not uncomfortable but powerful. Even the parents in the back were leaning in. "I've seen bravery in places you wouldn't expect, and I've seen cruelty in places I wish I hadn't. You all have the power to choose. You can laugh when someone's different, or you can ask yourself why, and what you don't see." Emma glanced behind her. Jake was staring at the floor, hands clenched in his lap. The loud, careless boy she'd known looked smaller somehow, embarrassed, ashamed. Mr. Parker went on, softer now. "You don't have to wear a uniform to serve. You don't need medals to be someone's hero. Sometimes you just need to be kind, to notice, to care." Emma felt her chest tighten. She wasn't a cruel person, but she had been silent, and now she wished she hadn't. As Mr. Parker stepped back from the microphone, a wave of respect filled the gym. No more whispers, no more laughter, only stillness, and the deep understanding that they had all been wrong about the quiet janitor. He didn't ask for attention. He had never needed it. But now, for the first time, everyone finally saw him, and they would never forget. After the ceremony, the crowd moved slowly out of the gym. Students hugged their parents, took pictures, and tossed their caps in the air. But a quiet line had begun to form near the edge of the stage. Students waiting to speak to Mr. Parker. Emma stood in that line, heart full. The people around her weren't giggling or whispering like usual. They were quiet, thoughtful. Some had tears in their eyes. Jake was a few spots ahead of her. He looked nervous, his usual grin gone. When it was his turn, he stepped in front of Mr. Parker and hesitated. "I'm sorry," Jake mumbled, "for the things I said, for how I acted. I didn't know." Mr. Parker looked at him calmly. His face didn't show anger. He simply gave a small nod. "Now you do," he said. "That's what matters." Jake nodded and walked away, his head low. It was the first time Emma had seen him quiet. When it was Emma's turn, she stepped forward, unsure what to say. But Miss Parker gave her a gentle look, like he already knew what she was feeling. "I never laughed at you," she said, voice soft, "but I didn't stop it either. I should have." Mr. Parker nodded again. "Takes strength to admit that," he said kindly. "Don't carry guilt, just carry the lesson." Emma smiled, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for everything." They shook hands. His grip was firm, warm. Later that night, Emma sat on her bed with her journal. She wrote about Mr. Parker, about how easy it is to judge someone by what they wear, or how quiet they are. She wrote that heroes don't always look like the ones in movies. Sometimes, they mop floors and walk alone in school hallways. And sometimes, karma doesn't come with loud payback. Sometimes, it comes with a quiet moment, when the truth finally rises, and those who laughed are left facing their own reflection. That was the day everything changed. The Monday after graduation, the halls of Brookside High were mostly empty. Only a few staff remained, cleaning up decorations and packing boxes. The school felt quiet without the students, but something about it had changed. Something deeper than just the end of a school year. Emma returned to drop off some library books, and stopped when she saw Mr. Parker in the front lobby. He was wiping the glass on the entrance doors, his movements calm and steady as always. But now, when she looked at him, she saw more than a janitor. She saw a soldier, a teacher, a quiet protector. "Good morning, Mr. Parker," she said, walking up. He turned and smiled. Not a big one, but real. "Good morning, Miss Roberts." They talked for a few minutes. He told her he planned to retire for real at the end of the summer, maybe move closer to his daughter and grandchildren. Emma felt a little sad hearing that. The school wouldn't be the same without him. Before she left, she pulled a small envelope from her bag and handed it to him. "Some of us seniors put this together," she said. "We wanted you to have." Inside was a stack of handwritten letters, thank you notes from students who had once ignored him. Some apologized. Others shared what they had learned. At the top of the pile was Emma's letter, short but honest. "You taught us what respect really means," she had written, not with words, but with quiet strength. Mr. Parker looked at the letters, then at Emma. His eyes softened, glassy with emotion. "Thank you," he said simply. That summer, the school board announced a special change. Starting next year, the annual Senior Leadership Award would be renamed the Parker Honor Award, given to the student who showed the most character, respect, and quiet strength. Emma smiled when she heard the news. It felt right. Miss Parker had spent years walking the halls unseen, doing his duty with quiet grace. But now, his legacy would remain, not just in a nameplate or a plaque, but in the hearts of every student who learned to look a little deeper. And Emma would always remember him, not just as the janitor, but as the hero who changed everything. If this story moved you, or made you see people differently, please like, comment and share your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful real-life inspired stories that remind us all to look beyond the surface. You never know who's walking beside you.